The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Getting to Know You. My name is Joe Nash. Today we're going to be talking about foster parenting opportunities in our area with the people from Northern Rivers Family of Services in Albany. We have with us the Executive Director, Bill Marszalek of Foster Care. And we have with us Colleen Vogel, whose title I have to read because it's a long one. She's Director of Recruitment and Retention of Foster Care. So welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Bill. You were here last year. Why don't we start about your new campaign? It's called Give Hope a Home, about all the different levels of involvement you can be to be a foster parent, what it takes to be a foster parent, and all that. But why don't we start with, I like your little slogan here. You have for a weekend, for a year, for a lifetime. And before we started, you just said you can even be a foster parent for a couple of hours. So that's a wide range of, so why don't you give me an overview of this campaign, and then we'll talk specifically about a lot of this stuff.
Give Hope a Home is a campaign that we came up with, and the hope word comes from giving families and children hope towards a better future. And we're looking for families and homes out there who can give that hope a home. So that's kind of how it all kind of ties together, and that's how we were looking at it. And there are a lot of different ways that families can do that. Foster care is something where children, they have to be removed from homes, need a place to be while we work together with the families to help them reunify them and bring them back home again.
So the kids you're trying to help between the ages of 1 and 21, it says, they've actually been removed from their...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, usually due to Child Protective Services calls and things like that. There may be abuse, there may be neglect, supervision issues, and what happens is when it gets to such a point that the children have to be removed, the local counties will call agencies like us at times to place the children in our foster homes and work with those families to help them reunify together.
Okay. And so, Colleen, you're the Director of Recruitment. What kind of people are you looking for to be foster parents?
We are looking for people in all communities. Kids are removed from their homes from their communities. So we're trying to place kids as close as possible where they're familiar with their schools, with their friends.
Okay, so this is, you're working in a 19-county area, so you try to keep people, if they're from Albany, you try to get them in Albany.
Yes.
If they're from Troy, you try to...
Because it's such a big change for the kids, and if they have some familiarity with their own communities, that's going to be better for them.
Okay. So, Bill, and then before we started, you were saying one of the things you want to talk about, you say people don't really, they think foster parenting is a good idea, they should do it, but you're saying sometimes they don't really know what they're getting into. So what are they actually getting into?
Well, what they're getting into is they're joining their communities and helping families in their communities be stronger. And that's really what's going on here, that when children have to be removed from a home, it's because things are going on. Sometimes, the drug addiction, the abuse. Well, we remove the children from the home for safety, but the goal is always to reunify them together to make the community strong again. And that's what fostering is about. You're contributing to that goal in the end. We work with the families. We work with our birth families, and by doing visits and all these different types of things, because in the end, what we want is children who can go back to their parents, be successful, and have the families that needed our services no longer need our services.
So are the children always eventually reunited with their families, or something?
I would say in the majority that we
and
do.
There's varying lengths of time when they're...
Yes,
Okay.
and that we talk to our foster parents in the trainings to really fostering the family. So you're sharing and shared parenting. You're joining together with the birth family, so to strengthen their parenting skills and helping them address the needs of the kids and moving them along. And they're building connections, and a lot of our foster parents do remain connected with these birth families.
So when the foster parenting is going on, how involved are the birth families or parents? Are they involved?
A lot of times it depends on what brought them into care. Sometimes there could have been a lot of severe circumstances that brought them into care, so be a lot less connection at those points. And as you're moving them towards reunification, we're increasing the connection, with the families, because we want to kind of hold the hand of the parent all the way through the process, so that way, as Colleen was saying, we're helping them build some of those skills to be successful with their children.
Okay, so that's a good goal. So you're saying the goal is eventual reunification?
Yes.
Okay. So what kind of, I noticed on your little publicity here, for people to be a foster parent, they have to go through some training. What's the training like, or what does it involve?
Yep, it's a 10-week program, 30 hours total, and it's a classroom-type style where people come in, and we have 2 trainers, and we talk about just different skills to be successful.
And I noticed the people that are foster parent, they have to have certain pre-qualification, like they have to have a full-time job, et cetera. What are some of those?
Well, they have to have an income. They have to submit some financial income, some records of that. They do get a stipend for the child, but it's to address the needs for that child.
Okay, and it's a 30-hour class?
30-hour class, 10 weeks.
And so how many, you were telling me before we started, at the moment you have about, 200 foster parenting?
Foster parents throughout the state, yep.
Okay, or the 19 counties?
Yep, we have offices in Queensbury, Albany, Schenectady, Hudson, Johnstown, Enwell, and Oneonta.
Okay. So, Bill, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the levels of involvement. I said at the beginning, one of your taglines is for a weekend, for a year, for a lifetime, or for a couple hours. You have, I guess you could say, you have something called therapeutic foster care, specialized foster care, overnight respite services, and then hourly respite services, and bridge family. Why don't you talk a little bit about all these and why you have so many, levels of?
Well, because not all families need the same amount of service and support.
Okay.
So what you end up with, your therapeutic program is our most intensive program. That's the program where you have a worker in your home weekly. They're supporting you all the way through. Children who are in our therapeutic program generally are having more difficult behaviors to manage, so you're going to need a lot more support. Our specialized program would be the next step down from that, and that program is generally you're having a worker in your home every other week. Children may not have as significant of behaviors and issues and needs that are going on with them. Then we get into the respite type programs. Respite is, I think, an overlooked thing a lot of times, and we're looking for lots of respite families because some people who don't know that, hey, is foster care too big for me? Like, that's a huge commitment, and we don't want you to make that commitment until you're ready for the commitment. But respite services is something that we have lots of families out there that just need to get through weekends. Okay. We have a lot of contracts with a lot of different counties that provide for before kids are removed. CPS is involved with that family. What happens sometimes is CPS may call us and say, hey, can we place these children on respite for 7 days to give this family a break? Let us time to address a few things and get them right back home again so that family can be successful. It's actually, it's a big part of our program because it gives people a break. It gives the families a break that are struggling with their own children. It gives our foster parents a break when they're taking care of some difficult children.
And I noticed that the people who, when they foster, they have a lot of support from you guys. What like 24 hours?
24-hour support.
What are some of the other things?
Every child that comes into our program, they're assigned a clinical case manager. We also have a clinician on staff, and so we have a lot of resources for foster parents. We come into the home once a week. We assist in any type of transportation and medical appointments, and if there's an issue that happens after business hours, we are there to respond.
Okay. So you've been doing this for how many years now, the Northern Rivers?
Northern Rivers has been, I think, about 5 years now.
Okay.
That Northern Rivers really is the connection of Parsons Child and Family Center and Northeast Parent and Child Society, which were 2 nonprofits in the area. Both still exist, but they're connected through Northern Rivers right now.
So what has the feedback been over the years? You were telling me before we started, you have a lot of foster parents that do it not only more than once, but they do it many over several years with different. So what's the feedback been over the years that you've been doing this?
Well, when you say the people, it's a special person that becomes a foster parent because you have to have a home with lots of flexibility. You have to have a lot of understanding. You have to have a lot of patience. And some people that it's just their innate abilities to be able to do this. And those are some of our families that stay for we got some families 15, 20 years. They've been doing this, and I can think of a couple families that have had to have had hundreds of children that have come through their door and have some great stories to tell about children coming in at 12 years of age and watching those kids graduate high school, go on to college, graduate college, and come back, and have them walk them down the aisle for their weddings. It's those are the great stories that happen in foster care. And some of these families have been around for a long, long time. Some families, they do it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, at a time, because there's a lot of intensity to it. They may take a break. Some families will take a break for a year and then come back. And you can always do those types of things.
Well, it sounds like people can be involved at a lot of different levels here. So, Colleen, how can people, if they want to do this, besides watching shows like this, how can people get involved if they want to at least see if they want to do this?
Yeah.
Be a foster parent.
Well, they can visit our website, www.givehopeahomeny.org.
Okay.
And on there, they can give us their contact information. One of our home finder recruiters, depending on where they live, will reach out to them and schedule a time to meet. And it could be informational, just answer some questions. They can also give us a call at 1-844-855-CARE. That's another avenue to take to get a hold of us. A lot of our recruiters go out in their communities, so you may see Northern Rivers we're tabling events.
Okay.
And so that's another way to get a face-to-face contact. We try to go to different child events. We've been at craft fairs, farmers markets, and just another way for us to get our name out there.
Okay. So what kind of, could you say from your years of doing this, what kind of person does this?
People want to help. They love children. They love helping their communities. I've never met any foster parents who just didn't have this strong desire just to be there for the kids. And that they've also become more involved with the parents as well. And the most successful kids who have been able to go home and reunite has been those parents who have been able to foster the whole family, not just the child. And their kids, their extended families, are also part of the process.
Okay. Now, when people foster, do they usually take on one child at a time, or can they do many? Can they do brothers and sisters? Because there's some that are families.
Oh yeah, we have lots of sibling groups.
Oh, okay.
That's a huge need of ours. Is kids come
Keeping
in.
the family together.
Yeah, we always do everything we can do to keep siblings together. We want to keep all the siblings together and keep them really as close to home as we possibly can. That's a lot of times when these kids come into care, all they have is each other, and we want to make sure that we keep that together as best as possible.
Okay, so you mentioned in the beginning just a little bit. Let me just want to go back to one thing. What kind of situations do the kids come from that they sort of need placement? Are they just all kinds of family dysfunction, or?
Yeah, I mean, you see the news. You see whenever you see that piece in the news where they're talking about a situation that happened with some children, and they'll say, well, Child Protective Services involved.
Right.
Those are types of things that are going on out there that bring these types of kids into care. The opioid epidemic that's going on right now is a huge piece that's bringing lots of children into care. Lots of drug addiction out there, and these are families who drug addiction, and they can't care for their children, and to get the help that they need to go through the rehab and do all those things and care for your children at the same time, they just can't do it. And bringing their children into care with a foster family that can help them be successful in that is a large area that's going on right now. There's a lot of abuse, a lot of neglect, a lot of poverty. Poverty is families that live in poverty and are stressed beyond their means. That's when the abuse and neglect comes out, when they've run out of options. They run out of options to handle certain situations, and you start to see these types of things happen.
So how many, do you have any numbers of how many people how many kids you have waiting at the moment, generally?
you don't really wait for foster care.
Well, I mean,
yeah, I mean, if foster care is like, we're always getting calls.
We're always getting calls.
Yeah, we're always
It's
getting
like a
calls.
constant.
The other thing I even think about, too, is we do kinship homes. So we support families who are in kinship. And kinship homes are homes that it's not their children, but you may be the uncle of somebody who had to have their child removed. What happens is you can get kinship care and get support through your local county, who could then have an agency like ours certify you as a foster home, and we support you through working with your nieces, nephews, and your family.
So then-
because we want to keep families
I
together.
was going to say, you're still technically in your family,
Yes,
more or less. Huh?
but you're getting the supports and services because it's not easy to reunify everybody together.
Okay, well, have I forgotten anything? It'll be on the screen. It'll be Give Hope a Home. GiveHopeAHome.org. And then the number will be on the screen and everything. So it sounds like you guys are doing excellent work and a much needed thing for our society. So
Yeah, I think what we really want people to do is, if you have thoughts or you just want information, making that call, putting your name on the list on the internet.
doesn't mean you're
something like that,
committed. You just,
doesn't mean you're
but you
committed.
can come and find out.
And you can take the class. We don't charge anything for the class. You can
Okay.
come out, take the class with us. We've had a lot of families that go through the class and say, you know what, I learned a lot from this,
But I don't want to.
but I'm not ready to be a foster parent now. It takes generally 2 years or more from someone who's just thinking about being a foster
Yeah.
parent to actually go through the entire process and be a foster
I
parent.
would say that's a big step.
It
Particularly
is.
if do a lot of these foster families, they already have kids, right?
Yes,
Many
a lot of them do.
And they're taking on even more. Okay.
And we want people to know that there's so much flexibility that just because you get certified doesn't mean that you have to take kids right away. We're trying to be as flexible with families as we possibly can, and know that you see your placements through with your kids, and if you want a break, after some children go home, you let us know. Hey, give me 6 months, or break, and then we come back again.
So when people do this, they can do it when they want.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to do this for the next 5 years or whatever.
Well, what I've always learned is, you can't make somebody do something they don't want to do.
That's true.
And,
That is true.
people have to be in this with their hearts, because if you're not in it with your heart, you're going to struggle greatly.
Okay.
A lot of our families start off just taking a couple hours, a couple days to kind of see what it's like too, so they don't have to be 100% in the beginning.
Also, I was saying you can do it from a couple hours to a weekend to.
Because sometimes parents need that just
Yeah.
to get started, and then they're ready to launch in. Say, okay, I'm
Okay.
all in.
Well, very good. Well, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. That's Northern Rivers Family of Services Foster Parent Program. It's called Give Hope a Home. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Probably see you next year.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time on Getting to Know You.